Okay, Dan Hendry here, founder of Unified Purpose, and pleased to be discussing the industrial hemp industry and sustainable communities. Today I'm with Robert Palma. Fortunately, we've got the camera that can't work, but you've got my ugly mug instead. But welcome to yourself, Robert.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me here.
So, Robert, from Zero Point Distribution and California 4.0 is doing some really exciting things and imperative piece of the puzzle in terms of some of my personal ambitions to be involved with this industry. And really, I can't do it without people like Rob. And we're going to go through and get a lot of valuable information from Rob today. And I think to start off, Rob, and just before we get into it, I'm going to turn my camera off and we'll just focus on the slides, mate. So can you just tell us a little bit more about your background, your education and your experience in industrial hemp and now smart communities?
Yeah, totally. So I always excelled in math and science. I was the geek in the family. I studied engineering in high school and mechanical engineering at the University of Central Florida. At UCF, I designed and built custom formula cars for international competition. That was really fun. I worked at Blue Origin doing carbon fiber structural panels. And then that's when my life completely changed. I got interested in the space travel industry. On that path led me to learning about industrial hemp and cannabis and all the benefits of the 100 plus cannabinoids, the terpenes, and just how that is going to completely revolutionize healthcare. But also with industrial hemp and its thousands of industrial applications, it was just overwhelming. So I knew how to get in the industry. And that was back in 2016.
Amazing, man. What a journey. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. And we're going to cover a bit more of that journey as we get through. But I suppose when you were going through the process of finding that path and getting to the result you wanted to get to, what were sort of some of the problems that you faced and that you had to overcome, Rob?
Yeah, a major one was getting over the idea that the investors, the money would be there to invest in your idea. I realized there's a lot of money out there to be invested into ideas and projects, but the process of getting that was a lot more challenging than I thought it was. And it's, being a first-time entrepreneur, you think that your idea is the greatest and the best ever to everybody created. But I was part of a group called the Southern California Cannabis Business Investment Group. And what we did there was develop cannabis businesses to get them ready for get them funding from investors. And we noticed there's a lot of challenges. Investors that had different levels of risk, and
Yep.
just on their portfolios that they couldn't invest in the cannabis industry or different ideas, and even from simple ideas down to like really infrastructure heavy projects. And it was just really a mess. So now this is back in 2017, 2018. And now we're seeing a lot more of these entrepreneurs going out and making money to their own means, bootstrapping their projects.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And I'll just on that point, I mean, that's for the audience part of exactly what we're doing here to look at other ways and the new methods that you can fund. I mean, anyone that's seen my workshop and what I teach is exactly in line with that, where we're not relying on traditional ways of raising capital and doing business with, automation and using the workshops and the experts that are out there that have the answers where, yeah, you can bootstrap and really ask a question and get those answers. So just wanted to emphasize on that before we move forward. So glad that we're on the same page there, Rob. So just moving forward, like where over the last little while have you seen sort of things progress? I know legalization in, I suppose, all the 50 states there has now occurred. So what's sort of been the late changes in the hemp industry?
Yeah, so I got to California in 2017, and I came here for industrial hemp. But once I got to LA and I started joining these cannabis business groups, there was no conversation about industrial hemp. Everything was about cannabis, THC, and these different strains. And I was trying to find the people that was talking about the bigger picture, was industrial hemp, and there was just no conversation about it for years up until the legalization of industrial hemp. Like literally overnight, everyone became interested in industrial hemp now because it had the opportunity to basically you can transact it over state lines and internationally. So that opened the door. It opened everyone's eyes, and then the conversation changed. So, and that was that was 9 months ago. So we're still seeing a lot of people making that transition to wow. We were spending so much energy in cannabis, focusing on these THC, CBD, when there's a whole world of cannabis over here and industrial applications, creating paper and clothing and houses. So we're starting to see that conversation change a lot because of the farm bill. in the United States, which created a large ripple effect, across the entire world, because it is the United States.
Definitely going, yeah, more aware, talked about that's a mission of ours together, everyone, to make sure that people are aware of exactly what Robert's just mentioned, and able to take advantage of the opportunities and make an impact on the world we live in, of course. And on that, I mean, you're doing something pretty significant in California 4.0, Rob. It's mind-boggling, very impressive to me, and I'm sure the audience. So this is your baby, mate. Introduce your project, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so California 4.0 was created on the idea that we can design smart and sustainable communities that serve humans better than what we have today. This is to connecting people with nature and living with nature, and also implementing technology in certain areas to make our lives easier. And this came about through a lot of research, a lot of industry events, and meeting people, going on the internet and connect with different groups there, and just seeing always asking what's possible. And from that conclusion, I realized, like, wow, we can really have this a society of all this abundance and health and prosperity, and we can manifest that today. We just have to get the right people together and doing that. So that's why I created California 4.0, which is basically laid out the groundwork of investing in infrastructure for the hemp industry. And that's because with industrial hemp, we can manufacture thousands of goods across dozens of industries. Essentially, everything you see around you can essentially be made of hemp. That's how big it is. So by creating and what we're trying to do is invest in the infrastructure for creating those products. So, just for example, right now, paper, one ream, like a pack of hemp paper, will cost you thousands of dollars because it's being handmade. And we all know that hemp can produce 4 times the amount of pulp as trees. So it seems plainly obvious, like, hey, we should be making it out of hemp paper. But just because of the scale of operations, the cost is not there yet. So this is what this whole plan is about. Is like, look, there's a race to scaling hemp, and it could be a business over here, a business over there. But what this project's all about is like, hey, as a community, as the whole world, like, let's get together and let's invest in this project so we can start to develop these sustainable materials. And the whole thing is a cooperative, and it's combining communities all throughout California. So you see here on the picture on the right, we have Mount Shasta. That's going to be the location for our education, because being in a new industry, everything starts at education and knowledge. That is the basis. And then Sacramento and Fresno, we have our farming operations and processing. Just because in the Central Valley, it produces more than 50% of all the world's agriculture. And I mean, the United States agriculture. And then in California City, Alonso are desert areas. And these are going to be our manufacturing distribution locations. The great thing about all these locations is that they are opportunity zones, which is a tax incentive that the federal government designed for long-term investments. So you basically have a large capital gains tax. You don't pay capital gains tax on your investment, which is massive for these infrastructure deals.
And like, while we're on this, I think I've mentioned in our conversations, and there's going to be some people in my audience and my network that are sort of family office, property-based funds managers. So you're still this is still accepting funds at the moment for this project to be, you're still accepting funds, Rob.
Yeah, 100%. Right now, we're currently in talks with several developers here in Los Angeles area. We'll be connecting them to our family offices that we have so far. But yes, right now we've only have about half or a quarter to a half of the project committed and funding. Yeah, we're definitely still looking for family offices to join in.
Great. Well, anyone else listening to this would just get in contact with myself, and I'll facilitate that introduction. And so we've touched on it a little bit more already, I suppose, with the conversations that you were having. But look, can you just elaborate, I suppose, a little bit more in regards to how using particularly industrial hemp as well is better than anything else in terms of property development and using it in everything?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, these communities, they're focused. The California 4.0 project is focused on the commercial infrastructure, the processing equipment, the warehouses that we need to establish hemp businesses. But with that, we also need to focus on the residential real estate, and that's definitely where industrial hemp can have a huge part, because industrial hemp is by far the greatest building material for homes. It's mold and mildew resistant. It's fireproof. It balances the humidity. It's also a major carbon sink. So this is the benefits of using industrial hemp and property development are massive, and applying that to a project this scale can just have drastic effects on not only on the environment and improving the air and soil quality, but also on the lives of people. You know, a lot of people are not aware of how much toxins are actually in our house just because of how they're manufactured. Just through the insulation alone is, you know, you peel back your drywall, you look at your insulation, it has cancer warnings on it. And these are things that we're breathing in, you know, very small rates over a long period of time, which is just causing unhealthiness. So, you know, industrial hemp and property development just go hand in hand by far.
Great. I love your answer, and good to be learning this myself, Rob. And I'm sure the audience is, very impressed. And so, if you can just sort of go into a little bit more of a broader spectrum with your 0 point and that supply chain process. I mean, you touched on it with the different areas along up and down California, but some other use cases. And then, like we've talked about as well, like we're working together. I need some assistance. We're dealing with. We've now combined our efforts to work together to building more of these smart, sustainable communities. And I've introduced a couple of technologies in Archistar and the Blue IoT in terms of getting these environments much smarter. And we haven't talked into full detail as yet, but if you can just touch on, and we'll go into audience, anyone that's listening, we're going to go into much greater detail on all of this in an upcoming workshop. But just if you can just provide us some broader information in regards to things that need to occur in that supply chain and other use cases of hemp, and then in regards to the project and these communities, how can we potentially leverage those technologies and integrate them, Rob?
Definitely. So I'm going to explain to you why industrial hemp is so amazing. So not only can we use industrial hemp for property development, right, which uses the bark of the tree, the inner herds of the tree, of the hemp plant. What you have left after you take away the bark in the herds is the fibers, which we can use to make clothing. And additionally, we also have the flowers, the buds on the top of the hemp plant, which can be used to make oils and medicine. So with one plant, we're building our houses, we're feeding our society, and we're providing medicine for the community. So this is just full spectrum. This plant is
right.
Yeah. And then how are we going to use these technologies? So Archistar is definitely an amazing platform, and it's going to just radically transform the way we developed in the past. Using their AI tools to develop property, we're going to be able to experiment different ideas much faster. And this is what is essential for designing these solutions and designing these communities, because we need these communities yesterday, like years ago. Because right now we're heading towards the Agenda 2030, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. For the most part, there's no nation that's on track to reaching that goal. And it's because there's been a lot of passive action. So using these exponential technologies like Archistar and Blue IoT is just going to increase the pace, and we can create the solution and start reversing the problems that we've created.
And I just want to touch on for the audience in regards to Blue IT, it's a new relationship that we've formed. And I mean, they're reducing building management costs by 50%. So if you've got a large property portfolio, then there's some significant savings for existing properties. And obviously for any new, I mean, you've got the best and the smartest from the start. So look, we're covering off on some really great points here, but why do you think people should sort of just elaborate a bit more why people should switch to this way of, developing a communities, property developers out there and going to that point with town planners, developing this with cities, emulating what you're doing there with California 4.0, Rob?
Yeah, definitely. So there's two big reasons. The selfish reason is health, right? In these smart sustainable communities, the whole design of the community is to optimize your well-being, the well-being of the community. In terms of the water supply, the way it's being filtered and transported, the air is being purified by the amount of trees and plants we have nearby. The way the housing is designed, it's using with sustainable building materials. This just carries out all throughout the entire community design. So selfishly, it's about your health and prolonging your life, and so it could be as prosperous as possible. Now, selflessly, the reason why we should develop these communities is because, well, if you look at the United Nations, they have 17 Sustainable Development Goals. We can accomplish all 17 goals by focusing on industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And that's just by designing sustainable communities, because in a sustainable community, there's no one that's going hungry. There's no one that doesn't need housing. There's no one that has no poverty. Everyone has jobs. There's going to be equal fair employment for everyone. That's the characteristics of a sustainable community. So we can essentially solve all the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by creating sustainable communities.
I love it. I love it. We'll have to make sure we've got the area for the music stage and all the entertainment, Rob.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Arts and creativity are definitely part of this whole process.
Yeah, awesome. So, like with entrepreneurs out there that are looking to maybe get into the industry, where with your experience and you've got a large network there of other entrepreneurs and people that have been in the industry, where do you see entrepreneurs sort of wasting time getting involved with the hemp business?
Yeah. So, just because the industrial hemp industry is fairly new and there's not a lot of data on it, because a lot of it's been raised or misinformed for the past decades. But I see a lot of entrepreneurs, one, not keeping track of their time. And the essential ingredient to becoming an entrepreneur is that you're really good with time management and being accountable. So number one, you need to start working on that and keeping yourself, time tracking yourself. And also I see a lot of people wasting time on social media. They would follow the experts, they follow the companies, they start learning all this information. They kind of get stuck in that loop of just learning instead of applying these ideas and solutions and sharing it with other people so that they can go forth and manifest into reality. So just be careful about how much social media and information you're gaining and not giving back, and track your time.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And I suppose that ties into what we're doing here with overlooked opportunities in the industry. So if you can sort of elaborate with what your ambitions have been in form of developing the virtual workshops and again, like having access to the right information, the right blueprints, the right best of practices to get involved with the business and actually have an impact. And whether that's individually or a collective effort, like with what we've been talking about, if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, 100%. The biggest thing that slowed me down when I first got to Los Angeles a few years ago was there's no community to go to talk about industrial hemp. To find these experts, I had to go on LinkedIn and communicate with these people all around the world, and it was it was much more challenging rather than having a mastermind group. We have all the answers. This community of so much resources and knowledge at your fingertips, which is it made it a lot easier for me to get ahead in the industry, and especially with the blueprints and the technologies that we're partnering up here in the mastermind. It's definitely be the fastest way for you to get ahead in the industry.
And just in regards to some of the restrictions, I suppose, and we've got the even if they're not 3D printed, but hempcrete current homes, like how have you found the restrictions, I suppose, and the opportunities being overlooked? If it's the best material, best for our health, why aren't the councils, why aren't we, what are some of those things being overlooked and why? And even consumer goods.
Yeah, there's a huge opportunity right now with hempcrete homes for the most part because most of the cannabis being produced is for its flowers, for its oil contents, and a lot of the stock herding material is being thrown away. And this is the material that we can use to build homes. And Los Angeles has a major problem with homelessness, and actually all over the world, there's a lot of people who are suffering from this. And this is just if we had a machine, we had a decorticator, we could begin to process this waste material and start building homes that also are sucking in carbon. So it's super win-win benefit right there. And also and very low cost, for the building materials. It's just the hemp herd, lime, and water, and boom, you have yourself a hempcrete house. So that's gonna be massive. And the 3D printing is just gonna scale that even more. Even though the technology and applying it to home building is pretty new, but once applied effectively, we can build communities in days. Whereas they're taking it months to years. That's just gonna be massive. And then the consumer goods market, that's a major one because of the sustainability. You have so many consumer goods are one-time use. Your Coke bottles, your shampoo bottles, like toothpaste, like it can go on and on. And this comes down to the way they were manufactured, use non-recyclable materials. And this is a big game changer with hemp, is because it's nature, it's biodegradable. So all the consumer goods made from hemp oil will naturally become recyclable. And this is going to change the whole face of the planet, because you have so
great. I love it. I'm loving this. So, and if you can just touch on your experience in dealing with a couple of these big players currently in the market.
Yeah. So I'm in the U.S. I'm in Los Angeles, California, and the biggest advocacy group is the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. These guys are always on their game. Always, they have they have networks all around the country and in all the different states, and they keep track of all the latest industry updates and what bills are being passed. And they're always asking for support, like, hey, this bill is being passed in New York. Can we get all the hempsters, to help support and, talk to the senators? So always keeping everyone informed. They have Instagram, email campaigns, like absolutely fantastic. These guys are on it. New Frontier, they are a data company. So if you're looking more into like, what's trending, what are consumers looking for, New Frontier is collecting all this data and doing the analytics on it and then giving you results. And they give it away for free if you sign up for their email platform. Obviously, you can pay and you can receive more, but they're giving away a lot of value for free if you sign up.
Yep.
MJ BizCon is the largest cannabis conference in the world. I think the last conference they had over 30,000 attendees, and it's growing exponentially. Like it you almost have not enough time to check out the whole experience, the whole expo hall. It's insane. The Hemp podcast was founded by the creators of NOCO Hemp Conference in Colorado. So these guys, Colorado was the birth of the cannabis industry in the United States and a lot of the hemp industry. So these guys know all the big players. So they bring them onto the show and they have great conversations there. This is a good way to see what's the latest and greatest here in the United States. And then we have the Hemp Inc. is one of the largest hemp companies in America. They're based out of North Carolina and they have a facility in Oregon. And these guys are just one of the biggest operators in the hemp industry, doing processing all types for oil, for the hemp herds, all types of stuff. And the same thing goes for Hemp Logic. They're another massively vertically integrated company. And the hemp marketplace seems to be like the go-to place for wholesale on hemp goods. Everything, hemp herds, fibers, oil, all types of. It's an open marketplace, open to the public to post and buy. So it seems to be the common ground right now for the industry.
Right, and for anyone listening in Robert's audience that's predominantly more in this industry, look forward to hearing from you and working working towards potential collaboration and partnerships. It's a collective effort here. So now, obviously, moving forward into the future, who are the big players? Who do you think are moving forward and evolving into that space to get onto that list we just touched on then, Rob?
Well, I could definitely tell you 0 Point Distribution and Smart is
Bet you
definitely
would.
on that list.
Tell us why, Rob.
For a couple of reasons. The biggest one is going to be our mastermind group, and where we're going to be putting together the experts and getting all this knowledge. Like I said, with the industrial hemp being a new industry, and so very, very few people understand what it is, what the capabilities, opportunities are. Being a part of a mastermind group where you can get those answers on demand, and then you can bounce off ideas and work together in a group that's working collaboratively, you're going to work so much faster and so much smarter than other entrepreneurs and other businesses out there not in the group. It's not going to be on the same page. Like that alone is going to change the game. And again, with 0 Point Distribution, we're creating a supply chain management platform that's using the latest technologies, blockchain, IoT, AI, virtual reality, to transform the way that people exchange goods, bringing transparency into the supply chain, automating our business in terms of documentation and payments. So this is going to completely revolutionize how people do business.
I love it. And I'm sure anyone that's listening, if you're not excited by now, then turn this off, or, this is getting exciting. So hopefully you're still listening and ready for the next, the close down, I suppose. We're getting ready to sum up everything. So if you can do that, Rob, give us your sort of few final thoughts and advice to those listeners.
Yeah. So right now, the biggest thing everyone has to understand is we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which provides us the biggest opportunity to gain power at scale that has ever existed. And just, for reference, we're in the fourth one, and there's been 3 prior, obviously. And every industrial revolution in the past has co-aligned with a social revolution, which means for some reason, and every time we've gained an enormous amount of mechanical power, the society transformed itself and its mindset upgrades with it. So now we're in the fourth industrial revolution. Technology is progressing and changing. That also means our mindset needs to change. We need to stop focusing on the money aspect of and the profits of this and start focusing on how we're going to help people and help the planet, because that conversation is way more important than how much money we're going to be making. And that to me is a major one. And second, industrial hemp is by far the most versatile renewable resource on this planet. I mean, you can't compare it to any other product of. And just for quick example, the oil industry, right? Massive, probably one of the biggest industries in the world. Can make roughly about 6,000 products. Industrial hemp is estimated to be around 25 to 50,000 products.
Far out.
We're estimated to be 8 times larger than the oil industry.
Yeah.
That's insane, and this is from a plant that anyone can grow in the ground versus having to dig thousands of feet deep into the Earth's crust to pull out oil, process it, filter it, and then ship it around across the world. This is a solution that we can do locally and then scale it globally, and in a collaborative effort. It's
Yeah. I'm really keen to see what is produced in your workshop in regards to correlating industrial revolutions with the social. I think that will really help people move past money and, very exciting to see that direct correlation with the unified purpose mission as well. And that's really exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, Rob. So, look, we're getting close to the tail end, and I want to know, what do you see as sort of the biggest challenges in the industry right now?
Biggest challenges. So it's most of it is still in the supply chain's figuring itself out. We have all these new states coming online and creating a hemp program. So we have farmers popping up here everywhere. There seems to be a big challenge in processing infrastructure not being available. So there's different businesses being set up in that regards. And also on the sales side, a lot of businesses are if they're making paper, they're making wood products, stuff like that. You need to become aware to industrial hemp and how it's more beneficial for themselves, but also the environment. So, with all these new players coming online, it's going to be a lot of organizing the supply chain to, make things work out. And with the product itself, standardizing hemp is going to be a major issue that we have to overcome, to use it into our buildings so we can make packaging from hemp. All these things become standardized so we can have people know what to expect with the product. We have standards to hold people accountable towards. And this is a big one, especially with the hempcrete homes, because it's just so simple. It's just hemp, lime, and water. And we can do so much of that in housing people. So once we can get our councils here in California to approve that, we'll be in a much greater place.
So I just wanted to ask, because obviously, this is amazing technology. We can communicate and work around the world with anyone. And that's the great thing about our virtual workshops and masterminds. But down in here in Australia, I don't even know what's happening with hempcrete homes, to be honest with you, because we're that far off. It hasn't been legalized here. But over in the US, what is happening there in terms of have there been approvals for the hempcrete homes for it to be utilized in the homes yet?
Yes, I know about 5 houses built from hempcrete here in the United States. In different states, 2 of them are going to be on the East Coast, and another 3 on the West Coast. 2 of those being in California. And so most of it hasn't been approved at the state level, but it's been approved at the local level. And that's been using a lot of the standardization created by other countries. So hempcrete building is vastly popular in Europe, and I believe it in Austria, and so they've been taking those standards information and they apply it. They give it to the people here in California or their local governor, their local office, and they provide that information and they begin improved to those means. But this is a one-off basis. Each product has to get approval. What we want to get towards is where we have standardization. So any builder is like, hey, I can use this material and I'm good to go.
Fantastic. So that'll be obviously part of what we're doing, audience that's listening today, to help expedite that, to obviously facilitate this all coming to fruition and being scalable as quickly as possible around the world. So, we've touched on a lot, but for these entrepreneurs that are focused on, being smart and sustainable, looking after, I suppose, themselves, it has to happen, because people still have to have comfort and, we have to look at ourselves first before we can give. But these entrepreneurs that are out there that are still in this mindset of whether I can participate in such a large industry, how can I as an individual make an impact? What do you have to say to those?
Yeah, I would just say it doesn't really matter, your background, what you know right now, or who you know in general. Like, as long as you have a passion and interest for the industrial hemp industry, you can definitely make it. And this is just by serving your community. Find people that you want to work with. Just put yourself in that group, and they'll bring you in. You'll give you some work to do, and then from there you grow. And it's exactly the same thing with me. Like, I had no experience in cannabis or plants or anything in that regards 2 years ago. I made the commitment. I moved to LA, started joining these groups, and I scaled the industry, and now I'm top of leading it, and I'm providing them industry updates and getting them guidance. So anything is possible as long as you have that passion. You can definitely get it.
It's an amazing story, Rob. And for anyone that's listening, you're going to save that time, money, and energy that Rob has had to put in and risks he's taken to move himself interstate, all this sort of stuff where, you don't want to endure that pain. So the workshops, everything that we're putting together will help that. And you're involved with an industry, as you can see, that's set to grow by If you want some statistics and where this has come from, I've seen this the other day 40 times, and I asked you that before, Rob, and we couldn't validate it, but yeah, you would agree that that's the sort of growth that we're expecting. So it's an exciting time to get in on the ground floor, not only in the industry, everyone, but involved with the workshops and masterminds that we're launching as well. So I suppose just we're summing up. Any other sort of projects you're involved with? It sounds like it's 100% color. It's a big project to do on its own anyway. So what else is happening in the industry? And I've got a bit of a question before we close off in regards to an opportunity that's come across my desk as well. But what's happening sort of over the long term, and anything else cool that you're aware of that's in development at the moment?
Yeah, so over over the immediate horizon, I'm seeing a lot of people, a lot of farmers switching from growing CBD, high CBD strains towards growing fiber. That's a big shift. So right about now, we're about like 90% of all hemp is for CBD. So 10% of that is going to be for fiber and grain. So we're starting to see a larger shift towards that just because the CBD market is so overpopulated. Long term, we're seeing a lot more investment into processing infrastructure. Like I mentioned before, there's a big deficit there. So I'm seeing more companies pop up, filling that niche, filling that void.
Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, for other UN projects, we're working with a group called For Us, FORUS. They're based in South Africa, and they've created a blockchain, a community banking platform that uses blockchain. And they've already been working with the president of South Africa and getting them involved in the really big companies in the area to jump onto the platform. This includes the taxi industry and a lot of big players. And they have over 100,000 signups already, so they're doing really well for themselves. And again, they have a similar style to the California 4.0, focusing on hemp, focusing on sustainability and such as that. So that's another really good project to be aware about.
Yeah, fantastic. And you'll be able to go into a few more of those on the upcoming workshop, I'm sure, which will be, I'm so excited to see, Rob, and I'm sure the audience is as well. I mentioned before we started today that not going into too much detail, but I wanted to understand, like, if I was to help facilitate someone that there was a large portion of land available with the best sort of soil, claims to be the best soil, what would be the best process to help facilitate with you to get them established with a hemp farm?
Yeah, so definitely first you're going to check with your country or your legislature and see if they have a hemp program in place and see what their protocols for getting set up and getting that going. Next, we're definitely we want to check your soil, air, and water quality. Even though you might think it's the best, we have a lot of people who think that, and then you do the actual test, and then you come with the actual answers. And then from that, once we have that, we can start to go out and see what strains will do really well in this farm. And then we have a conversation about your operation in terms of what scale, based off what you already have, your capital, and other things like that. And then we'll go from there.
Fantastic. The type of things you're growing for, I'm assuming, whether it is going to be for medical purposes or for building supplies, for example, I'm assuming. Yeah,
exactly. It's kind of, what kind of, and everyone has a different specialty in their niche, So a lot of people already have connections to the fashion industry, so they might want to just start going for hemp fiber. So it depends on who you know and what you know. So we just have to have these conversations. We have the mastermind group because we have a whole group of experts right there.
That's it. And look, anything else that I haven't sort of asked that you wanted to cover off on?
Yeah, definitely. So, creating these smart, sustainable communities, we have the solutions are there in terms of sustainability design. We have the technologies being developed. One of the big things I don't see that's happening is establishing the right culture for these communities. A lot of times you walk into a big city, no one knows you and you don't know anybody. So it's kind of uncomfortable. But how do we change that for these sustainable communities where we can, be embraced and be welcomed? Establishing the right culture for it it's hard because it's like creating a company culture, except with the community, it's open to the public. Anyone can come in at any time, and because of technology, we can reach out to so many people so quickly, so effortlessly. We can have a lot of people in a community really fast. So how do you manage all that? And you can't manage it. It has to be self-managed. That's why you have to create this culture with everyone following a certain values. So big conversation to happen there.
It is, and a lot of training in our brains, considering we've been used to competing with each other and this corporate world, and the fact that there's technology that's available to create a lot of abundance, and the fact that hemp is obviously in abundance, and we can really have anything that we want, and sort of having to move past that competing nature and go back to, I suppose, I don't know whether we're going back, because everyone's had to always survive in nature, whether they were surviving against a human or the lion that was chasing them. But no, I love that point. And so, final thoughts. Obviously, we've got some exciting things happen, and you've already explained today some really valuable information and content for the listeners. So, we're going to close off. Rob, what's your thoughts, mate?
Look, I've been through the journey of trying to create a hemp business, and I can honestly say with my wholeheartedly that you cannot miss on this opportunity to join this mastermind group. Being a part of the group with all these experts and all this knowledge so readily available is single-handedly going to transform you and your business model. 100%. Because once you start, you can go through the months of research, or you can join this group. You can go to the all the expenses of going to conferences and buying ebooks, stuff like that, or you could join this program. So again, join the mastermind group. It's going to be one of the best things that best investment for your business.
Love it. I'm on board. So how do we find out more about yourself, Rob? And how do we get involved?
Yeah, so my LinkedIn is the best place to reach me. If you can't find me, you can go through Dan, Unified Purpose. And also we have more information about the California 4.0 proposal in a separate document that I can send to people if you're interested. But yeah, the best way honestly is going to be through LinkedIn or join the mastermind group, and I'll see you there.
I love it, Rob. Well, I think we're done, man, and really excited that this was the sort of launching pad, and I'm glad that we've come into connection, and you're the man to help me lead for my ambitions. Again, it just sort of re-emphasizes the fact that it's not the how to do things, it's the who, and you really do have the opportunity to ask questions as an entrepreneur and find the right people that have those answers to have the impact that you're looking to have. So look, just take that on board, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you on we're seeing at least your expression of interest. The positions will be limited initially, so let's just go through that process, express your interest, and we look forward to talking to you further. And thank you so much, Rob. It's been great.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, this was a great opportunity. Appreciate it very much.
Look forward to it, and see you later. I'll talk to you later, Rob.
Okay, peace.